Thanks, everyone. Thanks for coming. I'm Bob. This is Craig. You'll hear a lot more from him. I'm going to read my speech, so if Sean Jack is here, time to zone out, buddy. Okay. So, on behalf of the New England Disc Golf Hall of Fame Committee, it is my honor to welcome you to the 2026 induction ceremony, honoring our second class of inductees. Tonight, we gather not just to celebrate these remarkable individuals, but to honor the history, spirit, and community of disc golf in New England. Might have some people coming, maybe? Of course, Casey White.
Nice entrance.
And his whole family.
30 seconds.
That's 2 strokes, Casey. Showing up late.
Bar plus 4. Bar plus 4 for showing up late. Missing teeth.
Shows what I know. I'm not a TD or anything. Okay. Disc golf began with simple ideals: the flight of the disc, freedom and connection to nature, and fun with friends. But it grew because of extraordinary people, some of whom we're going to honor tonight. People who imagined courses where none existed, people who competed fiercely, taught generously, organized tirelessly, and believed deeply in what this sport could become. The New England Disc Golf Hall of Fame exists to recognize those individuals whose impact has shaped disc golf far beyond their own throws. This evening, we celebrate 6 inductees whose contributions will span generations: champions and innovators, designers and tournament directors, teachers, ambassadors, and advocates. Each of them has left a lasting mark on our courses, in our tournaments, and in the lives of people who play this game. But tonight is also about all of us. Disc golf has always been more than a sport. It is a community built on respect, volunteerism, and a shared love of the game. Everyone in this room, from family, friends, fellow players, fans, and supporters, has played a role in sustaining that culture. Your presence here is a testament to the connections that disc golf creates. I urge all of you to follow the example of these inductees and find ways, no matter how big or small, to give back to the disc golf community. Yes, give yourself To our inductees, thank you for your vision, your dedication, and your perseverance. The paths you carved, sometimes literally through woods and fields, have allowed countless others to follow. Your legacy lives not only in records and achievements, but in every course played, every new player welcomed, and every moment of joy the game continues to bring. We are honored to celebrate you tonight. I'd like to turn it over to Craig Smolin, who will guide us through the ceremony tonight. Craig had a vision for Connecticut Disc Golf Hall of Fame, and that vision was the inspiration for the New England Hall. I'd like to thank him and all the other committee members for their dedication to this endeavor.
Thank you, Bob. It is once again my privilege to act as your MC for this evening's induction of the second class of the New England Disc Golf Hall of Fame. I'd like to take a moment to remember our inaugural class from last year who are no longer with us. Dave Stidham, Joe Proud, Theo Cade, Bill McWilliams, Vincent Steele, and Todd Berdor. They are all missed. I'd also like to take a quick moment to remember those we've lost over the last year, whether they were players or friends. but with a special acknowledgement for Alan Sweeten and Brian Frederick. I had the great pleasure to meet and compete with Alan in the early 2000s when we were both young MA2 players. There are a few people that I can say that made me feel small, and Alan was one of them. A former shot put and discus thrower, Alan was a huge presence physically, but was so full of life that I couldn't not find myself smiling around him, even when he was smoking his cigars. While I did not know Brian Frederick that well, I have played many events in Pennsylvania and New Jersey and Delaware over the last 20 years and gotten to know his son Devin, his daughter Cheryl, and his son-in-law Steve Bro fairly well. Brian was a beloved volunteer throughout the Lehigh Valley region for over 30 years, and he is sorely missed. So our heartfelt condolences go out to the Sweeten family and the Frederick family. The reason we are gathered together this evening is to acknowledge the contributions of 6 extraordinary individuals who have dedicated years and decades to this wonderful sport that we all love. I first met Davis Johnson at Wickham Park in the spring of 2004 and was astonished at his ability to crush a disc farther than I ever thought possible. Though my memory is fuzzy, I believe it was Davis who introduced me to Joe, Dave Murad, Steve Ditter, and so many others who were the reason that disc golf existed at Wickham Park. In my first few years of competing in NIFA events, I can recall meeting Steve Hartwell and his wife Joy, along with their kids Wesley, Darren, and Meadow. For them, disc golf was a family affair, and they seemed to greet everyone they met with happiness and warmth. More recently, it's been a pleasure to join Steve on the NIFA board and to see firsthand that he is as passionate now about our collective history as he ever was about playing. Rick Williams was another stalwart at every NIFA event that I signed up for in those early years, and was invariably in the parking lot or ballrooms doing freestyle moves that mesmerized me. Rick has been on the NIFA board longer than some of you in the audience have been playing disc golf. While he's finally figured out how to attend NIFA events via the internet, the long-standing rumor is that he still doesn't have a cell phone or even an email address.
Yes,
He does have email. My first NIFA event was the 2005 Kisco Ice Bowl hosted by Bill Newman. Not long after, Bill convinced me that I had to go up to Massachusetts to play an event at a private course called Pyramids that was owned and operated by this eccentric guy named Jason Salzman. Jason gave us a place to sleep, fed us, showed us his burgeoning basement store called Marshall Street Disc Golf, and warned me not to play chess with Rick Bell humor, and that I should definitely not pat Pierre. I'm more fortunate than most to have gotten to know Steve Dodge, the person, and not just Steve Dodge, the personality. It took him a few years to remember my name, even though he always remembered my face. I've listened to him give speeches about his life, including his successes and failures. And he's never hesitated to be open and honest with me or anyone else who is genuinely interested in learning more about what makes him tick. I can still hear him say, "Birdie," on those early MSDGC DVDs. For those of you who compete in New England Team Challenge, for a stretch of about 4 years between 2014 and 2017, there was no better rivalry in A Pool than Cranberry and Crane Hill.
Woo! Yeah! Let's
Julie
go!
Ferdella and her partner Carly Bennett gave Crane Hill an edge that was tough to overcome. It was Julie in 2017 that pushed her team into the finals at Warwick Town Park and brought Massachusetts its first title in over 8 years. Her passion for disc golf led her to found Northeast Women's Disc Golf in 2014, and without a doubt her efforts have, to paraphrase their mission statement, inspired countless women throughout New England to be unafraid to compete, volunteer, and grow the presence of women in our region through education, empowerment, recognition, and community. So before we bring up our first presenter, I have a few people to acknowledge and thank. Thank you to Andrew Rich of Orbital Creations for once again crafting a truly special keepsake for each of the inductees tonight. Thank you to the entire Innova Champion Disc family for their generosity in providing us with the Hall of Fame fundraiser disc. Please buy one afterwards. Thank you to Ben Kenny and the entire Disc East family and team for providing us with this space this evening. Thank you to the New England Flying Disc Association Board, including our President Eric Wilson and Vice President Sandy Red, who can't be with us tonight, but our Treasurer Rick Williams, our Secretary John Mucciarone, and each of our state reps and committee chairs. Thank you to all of our PDGA state representatives in New England, who never, and especially Pat DiCaprio, who never hesitates to remind me to do more better. And lastly, thank you to the entire New England Disc Golf Hall of Fame Committee, including Bob Kolchuk, Daniel Marcus, Charlie Beasy, Chris Young, Bradley Arnold, and unsurprisingly, 4 of our inductees, but I promise you that the nomination and voting process weren't rigged. All right, enough about me talking. On to our first presenter. Brent Sanderson joined the PDGA in 1999 and had been a NEFA member for many years before that. I remember seeing him pop up on those early MSTGC DVDs I mentioned earlier, and we have many mutual friends in common. So to induct Davis Johnson, PDGA member number 44, please welcome Brent Sanderson.
I have show and tell. 44, number 7 in NEFA. He once put out a record album. You know that? No, that's not true.
I need
that.
He has a record though. He has the Guinness World Record. Who has that? One of those records got his signature on these discs. This is the way you used to buy discs in the supermarket. He collaborated to produce the complete book of Frisbee. Anybody have this? No? He once taught our military to use Frisbee pie tins as weapons. We'd be here all night if I went through everything that Davis has done in this sport. He's been playing since 1973. Most of that's older than anybody here. 1976, he got the world record for throwing a 119 disc, 412 feet.
Yep.
Casey, you try that. He's been a great ambassador for NEFA. He's got his own course called the Watershed in his backyard. He was a co-developer of Crane Disc Golf Course, and as well as Holyoke Disc Golf Course, Holyoke Community College. He puts on the senior games every year out at Crane, and that is a national event that he went to the Nationals this year and won gold. His wife Joni as well puts on the senior games with him every year. She's a sweetheart. Let me see what else he's got here. He asked me to do this, and I said, this is the worst thing I want to do, is stand up in front of the crowd. And he said, well, I can get Daniel Marcus to do it. And I said, oh, hell no. Love you, Daniel. He's been, let's see, 1978, he threw 331 feet to Swift Dog to set the world record for a canine distance, also appearing in the Guinness World Record. In the 80s, he's competed in PDGA Worlds, overall Masters. He was instrumental in putting on the 1996 and the 2002 World Masters tournament. Competed in a number of PDGA Worlds. Let's see. I'm not very good at this, so apologize. He recently went out to the first ever pole hole installation, 50-year anniversary. What was that? Oak Grove. Yep. He's pretty much done it all. So without going through all this, I'm going to be short and I'm going to introduce you to Davis Johnson.
Since I walked in here this afternoon, I've just had a feeling of warmth. And it's cold out there, so I'm really glad I have a feeling of warmth. But just all the people, didn't have a chance to go around all the exhibits or anything. It's just one person after another. I haven't seen in a while. This is just a reunion. This is the Frisbee family. And this is what makes this such a valuable sport to be involved with. So anyway, I want to thank, obviously, I want to say something about Brent first. Brent has adopted, to our great benefit, Crane Hill as his home course. He's gotten a nickname there. His nickname is the Magician. Because you never know which hand, which throw, which spin, and it's all going towards, more often than not, the basket and beating the rest of us. So, the Magician, thank you. And of course, I want to repeat thanks to all the committee people who have worked so hard on this unsung stuff to do and made this whole Hall of Fame a possibility. That's so much appreciated. And I also I'm very thankful that we didn't have to hire a soothsayer to put on a seance to bring in this year's nominees. We're all here. Well, I competed, as Brent said, since 1973, but I actually started playing about 10 years before that, or 8 years before that, in 1965. So this is my 61st year, I'm well into it, of playing disc one way or another. And 50 years ago, this past summer, at the Rose Bowl competition, I won both competitions, distance competitions, and got to put my name on a Frisbee. This is the 141 version of that. You notice it's cracked. And I said to myself, I'd really love to have my name on another disc, and maybe someday somebody will put my name on a disc. And then people at tournament got tired of me saying that. I said, okay, here's a Sharpie, here's a disc, put your name on it, then you have your name on a disc. Well, that wasn't quite satisfactory. But anyway, since I got a name on a disc again here, I guess I can get rid of this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to toss this out. Whoever gets it, gets from me, you can contact me, and I'll give you one that's not cracked. For signature. I won't hit the microphone. I'm not going to throw it for you yet. This is one more thing. Wait a minute, hold up.
Get a shot off the wall, please.
That's a good idea, actually. There's one more thing I want to say about this disc. This has been sitting on my wall for years, and it just cracks spontaneously. And I took it off and said, well, maybe I'll bring this into the presentation. And then I turned the disc over, and it had a very familiar name to a bunch of us on it, Gordy Adele. And I just found out very recently that he passed away. One of those unsung heroes of disc play who did a lot for the sport. So anyway, Gordy, I hope you don't mind if I toss this out and see where it goes. And should I try an air bounce to make Rick happy? No air bounce. All right, here we go. Congratulations. Now, disc golf, I'm 75 now, and you may think when somebody gets old, they start to lose enthusiasm for life and stuff, and disc golf becomes secondary and stuff, but no, it's an addiction. There are 12-step programs for heroin, crack, fentanyl, sugar, cocaine, Pokemon obsession, Dungeons and Dragons, but you're never going to have a 12-step program for disc golf because it just wouldn't work. So let's say you're all my, fellow Frisbeeholics, and I've just walked in the room for the first time. And I say, hi, I'm Dave, and I'm a Frisbeeholic, and you all say,
Hi, Dave.
and then you say, Dave, why don't you go appeal to a higher power? You'll get rid of your addiction. But a higher power to me is somebody who can throw farther than me. I don't want to appeal to them, I want to beat them. So anyway, that won't work. So if I have one bit of advice, it would be, being from my standpoint in life, take care of your body. Because you're young, if you're young now, and you may take it for granted, but do good things, moderation in all things. Because when you get to be my age, and you still have that addiction, you don't want to sit in the sidelines and just kind of, watch other people play, and you're feeling that empty feeling in your stomach. So take care of yourselves. Okay. Frisbee family. I want to kind of end with that. And some of this has come up already. Frisbee family is real, and it's ongoing. And I can remember when being one of the original sort of pioneering competitors way back when. And there was two schools of thought back then. One was the guys who went out to tournaments with no shirt and had a refreshing Coke or two somewhere on the course. Hey, let's keep this to ourselves. This is our, we let people in, too many people in, it's just going to spoil and dilute this great family that we have. And of course, the other school of thought was, let's build it. And the let's build it has obviously won out because there's over 300,000 people in the PDGA now. And just coming to something like this, it's just mind-boggling what we had here today with Disc East and all the exhibits and everything else. I mean, it's just like, wow, look what happened. Look what we sort of helped do. So the Frisbee family is really important. And it's important because I think we treat each other well. We treat each other respectfully. There's mutual respect for men and women. And when we see what's happening in the highest offices of the land, the kind of role modeling that we're getting poisoned down to us is absolutely unacceptable, absolutely hurtful. And I'm really glad people are fighting back. And the Frisbee family is at the forefront of that fight, along with many other organizations. But, we had a dream back in the early 70s that this might grow big someday. And now I have a dream that, the kinds of values that we all represent will take over the world as well. Let's keep at it. Let's keep growing the family, being good to each other. And I'll just conclude with that. Thank you very much.
Our next presenter joins us for the second year in a row, this time on behalf of our erstwhile historian, Steve Hartwell, who provided me with a handwritten note of his exploits. Working backwards chronologically, in the early 2000s, he was on the bag caddying for some of New England's best at USDGCs. In the early 2000s, he was on the bag caddying, at the 99 Worlds, he was paired with Jim Kenner, the founder of Discraft, for the doubles event, and was also reported to have been Ken Climo's partner for at least one hole. In 79 or 80, he played with Dave Dunapace, the founder of Innova, in another doubles event. And even before that, he played a tournament round with Steady Ed Hedrick. Please welcome Roy Dorr.
Brent, you're right, this is hard.
It is.
But you're here.
You got it. This is nice. Maybe next year we'll get the big room next door with the dinner tables in the bar. Just kidding, just kidding. First, I too want to thank the Hall of Fame Committee and for all you guys do. And to the NEFA staff, thanks to all of you for being here tonight. Show of hands, 20-somethings. Just a couple, 30-somethings. Okay. See, when Steve and I talked about tonight, he reminded me about the average age of the crowd last year. Kind of read the room, so. But of course, if you weren't into history, you wouldn't be here. Anyway, last year's group of 6, Dave, Joe, Sonny, Billy, Vinny, and Toddy, were inducted in memoriam. And the event, therefore, was a bit somber. So when I was asked again to introduce Steve this year, my first thought was, oh no, not again, another sleepless January. I mean, we go way back, but what about DJ? What about Jason? Alas, they're up here tonight in their own right. Then it hit me, Steve is here. He can fill 5 minutes about himself way better than I can. Still, I wondered, who else? Who can I reach out to for stories? Bingo, Greg Black. See, back in the day, tournaments had players' meetings, usually 3, and nobody had us tuned in and laughing more than Greg. No one other than tonight's inductees did more for disc golf in New England. In fact, the courses at Normandy Farm and Borderlands likely wouldn't exist without him. Just like without Steve Hartwell, there might not be a NEFA. He was NEFA's first president and served as such for 5 years. He brokered the deal that got us our first set of baskets, the portables. Steve produced the PDGA course directory for 13 years. Before the internet, if we traveled anywhere and wanted to find a course, at least we had a resource. And inside this, the disc golf, this is a thanks on the intro, the disc golf community owes a big thanks first to Ed Hedrick and then to Steve Hartwell for creating and maintaining this great resource for all these years. Pretty cool to have your name printed next to the inventor of the pole hole and the father of the sport. Thank you, Steve, for those directories. And he was a 1995 PDGA Volunteer of the Year. Way to go, Steve. So after reaching out to Greg, who now lives in Panama, and we're lucky he can occasionally look at his email, after reaching out for some dirt on Steve, here's the gist of what he sent me. In the beginning was the Frisbee, and the Frisbee was with man, or in my case, boy. And we played with it in the 60s, and it was good, and it was fun. Back then, Steve was a really young boy, always playing with his mom's old letters and packages, collecting stamps, I guess. It was kind of an odd thing, but he was happy. Fast forward 10 to 15 years, there were a few little local tournaments. Everyone was pretty bad, but having fun. Some friends and I thought we were pretty good, so we went and did pretty good. Fast forward another few years and the events got bigger. The folks running them moved away, so the job fell on me. Enter Steve. There were a few spring flings at Bird Park in Walpole, and Steve appears with a beautiful woman. It's hard to think of Steve without thinking of joy. If you know Steve, you know joy, and you know that this event, this award tonight, is as much hers as his. Anyway, after a few more years of tournaments, we were invited one weekend to Sonny Cade's house with his rocky, woodsy, typical New England course. Show of hands, who likes to hit trees? So after a round, we're sitting in his dark, vegan living room, and someone, probably Sonny, says, what say ye? We start a New England Frisbee Club. Sonny suggests, Steve, you be president. Rick says, yeah, we can give numbers to folks as they join. I'll be the keeper of the money. Jason says, yeah, I'll sell Frisbees. Toddy says, I'll teach everyone freestyle. Except for Steve, he's hopeless. Steve says, I'll keep the books and we should call it NIFA. Greg says, where's the bathroom? I've got a long drive home. Thus, NIFA was born. We gave out numbers, ran tournaments, and to this day, we're still playing and hitting trees. So, Steve, keep collecting stamps and discs and keeping our books. I'm thankful and honored to call Steve and Joy friends as we induct him into the NIFA Hall of Fame. That's coming from Greg. Of course, those are my sentiments as well. He's a good golfer, a good husband, a good father, a good man, and a good friend. It's an honor to have you help me welcome Steve Hartwell to the New England.
All right. Thank you all for coming. This is great, and appreciate. All right, here's my speech. First of all, Roy, thank you so much for saying nice things about me. We've been playing golf Sunday mornings when we can, when the weather cooperates, for a long time now, and it's just been a pleasure to be your friend and play disc golf with you. And thanks to the committee here for helping to put this together, organizing the event. And, you know, I have to say thank you to my fellow NIFA old-timers, Davis Johnson and Rick Williams, who I've been playing disc golf with for 42 years. I've only beaten Dave once, but I tried.
Well, that's not true.
So I have to also, so there's somebody here who's not here, you don't know, but I have to thank him because he's my college buddy, Russell Harms. He introduced me to a disc golf pole hole in 1982. We played in Huntington Beach, California. I don't know how many people have played that course, but I was totally hooked. And I played with one of these nice midnight flyers. It's a lifetime addiction, right? And then, of course, a big hug to Joy, right? She came into my office in February 1984. I was working at Lotus Development in Cambridge because she saw the Frisbees on my wall. And so that struck up a conversation, and so our first date was playing catch, outdoors for lunch. And, you know, we got married. We have a wedding mini. Steve enjoyed discovering life together. So, I got to say some final words about Frisbee family from another perspective. So why are we all here? We're part of the Frisbee family, and you love disc golf, right? You know, you love the sport. So what do you need to do? You need to grow the sport. You need to make it bigger and better and reach out to all people and let them know about this sport that we love so much. So how do we grow the sport, right? That's important. It starts with each one of us. What can we do? How can we get involved to grow the sport? How can we give back? So if you have a job, can you inspire a coworker from your day job to go play around with you? Can you use some skills from your job to volunteer to do something? And can you quit your day job and go start a business, right? A disc golf business. So I discussed, and oh, one more thing. So do you have kids? Right? So you teach your kids how to play, and one of the best things as a parent is to see your kid whoop your ass. And throw farther than you, but you still love them and you have a great time together. It's a rite of passage. So I discovered early on my skills as a player. Okay, I don't know my way around a chainsaw. You know, I can sort of hold it together as a TV, but not with a lot of help. But I had some leadership skills. I could help organize stuff. That was my thing. I organized, and so I helped organize and grow. We called it back then the New England Frisbee Association, and before it became Disc Golf Association or Disc Association. And then I also had computer skills, and I happened to talk to the right person at the right time at the PDGA, and they were looking for somebody to help with the course directory. And so there was a little course directory that I helped with in 1986, and I grew it into a big course directory like that in the year 2000 when I passed it on. Of course, now it's on the internet, which is awesome. It's much easier that way. So we'll always have more courses to install, more events to run, and publicity to seek for our favorite pastime. So every one of you think, how can you help continue the growth of disc golf in New England and keep the Frisbee family going? Thank you.
Our next presenter will most likely find himself as an inductee in due course. But for tonight, he gets to honor his good friend, Rick Williams. John Hart was introduced to the flying disc in high school by Ultimate Hall of Famer Kenny Dobbins in the late 1970s, but he didn't play disc golf again until 2003. Suffice to say that he made up for lost time in the intervening years by serving NIFA as both points coordinator and later as president. And he has been the Hunts Mean 18/New Hampshire State's tournament director since 2006. Whoa. Welcome, John Hart.
Good evening, everyone. I don't have any props or too many old stories, but a lot to talk about with Rick and what Rick's done. So I'm super glad to be here with everyone in this class that's getting inducted. All had influence on me, certainly, and I'm extremely honored to welcome Rick Williams into the Hall of Fame. When I started to think about Rick and his impact on New England disc golf and the community, it dawned on me that he's probably met more disc golfers in New England than anybody.
That's true. That's so true.
Being the face of NIFA at so many tournaments every year. The last 30 years, if you went to a tournament, chances are you met Rick in person. And, you know, it is that volunteering commitment that Rick's made to NIFA and the disc golf community is why we're here tonight, to honor Rick. So backing up a bit, just to let people know how Rick got interested in disc golf and disc sports. Growing up, he just played Frisbee with his brother and his father at first, but it wasn't until his senior year at Earlham College where he found out that the freshman class was playing Ultimate. So he joined them and playing Ultimate and got a book from one of them, Frisbee, a practitioner's manual in Definitive Treatise by Stansel Johnson.
Stansel.
Stansel Johnson. And in that book, he learned all about all the different disc sports that there are. And then the next year, he went on to Florida State for his master's. And there he went to a freestyle exhibition by Tom Monroe and Ken Cook. And he said he was immediately hooked. And then in March of '78, he saw a Frisbee class, and he joined the Frisbee class, and then he learned how to play all the different sports. And he began to play double disc court, freestyle, and disc golf during the week, and then on the weekends they practiced MTA and Ultimate. In October of '78, he entered his first tournament, and he's been playing tournaments ever since. And Rick moved to Boston in May of '81, immediately started playing tournaments in New England. Rick joined the PDGA in '84, and in '88 co-founded NIFA with some of his fellow inductees and others. And Rick was vice president for the first 2 years, and then he became treasurer. And Steve Rick is still treasurer, 36 years later. He's also been the points manager for forever as well. So. Rick's been a great ambassador to disc golf in New England. Obviously, in the early days, Rick designed temporary disc golf courses, including one at King Pine Ski Area in New Hampshire, and then at Blue Hills here in Massachusetts. Rick has tabled several conferences promoting disc golf and NIFA. He's volunteers at the Disc Golf Pro Tour event in Maple Hill for the last 10 years with registration and spotting and live scoring. He's been on the NIFA board, as I mentioned, since '88. As treasurer of NIFA, he's done so much, spent countless hours overseeing NIFA's finances, day-to-day, annual reports, has provided continuity from one board to another. It's got to be 15 plus presidents, while Rick has been treasurer for 36 years. He's been a part of all the decisions that the board's made, and given out $60,000+ to courses for new courses and for existing courses and grants. Beyond the disc golf world, he is quite accomplished in the other disc sports. 9 freestyle world titles, 4 double disc court world titles, 1 in accuracy and 1 in discathon. His other accomplishments relating to freestyle and others, he co-founded Bow Style Freestyle Frisbee team and has made many exhibitions throughout New England, also in Finland and China, and on some cruise ships. He was the co-director for Whammo's Hacky Sack and Frisbee Festival in Boston in '85 to '87. He was in a film, Open Space, at Life at Dennehy Park in Cambridge. In 1996, he won the freestyle competition in the New Zealand overall Flying Disc Championships. He was the overall New Hampshire State Frisbee champion in '82, and the Mass champion in '87 and '91. He competed in several U.S. Opens, Masters, World Flying Disc Federation overall tournaments with several podium finishes. And last summer, he was the overall world champion in the Legends division at the overall Flying Disc Championships in Sweden. disc golfer. Rick has attended 18 World Disc Golf Championships. His highest finish was 5th, and his highest rated round was 993. He's attended 334 PDGA events and has 106 career wins. That's a pretty good percentage. And 6 tournament aces, which I think is more than Gannon Burr. And he's also played in hundreds of unsanctioned NIFA in New England disc golf events. But earlier, as I mentioned, the volunteering commitment is really what makes Rick stand out. Being an officer for 38 years, volunteering at countless tournaments and helping tournament directors, attending hundreds of tournaments in New England to perform NIFA duties and help out. And I think, you know, the image of Rick, when I first think of him, and probably many people, and many people that don't even know Rick that well, their image of Rick is a fixture at most New England tournaments, at NIFA tournaments. You know, he finds his place at Tournament Central, sets up. You know, he's willing to tell everybody about NIFA, explain what NIFA does, sign people up for NIFA, sell some NIFA merch, and then update people on the points. And then if you're lucky, in his downtime, you'll get a Frisbee, freestyle Frisbee exhibition. So, and above all that, Rick is always a very positive person, always willing to share anything about disc sports, and always a pleasure to be around. So he is so deserving of this honor for his overwhelming commitments in New England. And Rick, thank you very much for all you've done, and congratulations.
The committee has asked me to keep this brief, so join NIFA. Good night. Actually, I have a few things to say. I have to acknowledge Greg Hosfeld for that visual. Thanks, John, for that wonderful introduction. I appreciate it. Do I really do all those things? Now I know why I'm so tired. I'd like to thank those who nominated me, Steve Hartwell and Bill Andrews. And I'd like to thank the New England Disc Golf Hall of Fame Committee for inducting me this year. I'd like to congratulate the other inductees. All of you have made significant contributions to disc golf in New England in your own unique way. I'm honored and privileged to be inducted with you in this year's class. I've known all of you for many years, and some of you for many, many years have been good friends. So what a joy it is to be part of your Hall of Fame class. I'd like to thank all of you for being here, participating in the celebration. I'm glad you could make it, considering the weather. So I would be a terrible CEO or president. I would be a lousy lawyer, counselor, or philosophy professor. Now, why would I say those things? Well, like most humans on this planet, I have my strengths and my weaknesses. I'm not a big picture guy. I am not a conceptual thinker. However, I do pay attention to detail. I'm good with numbers. I'm analytical, meticulous, and somewhat organized in my unorganized way. These are the qualities that have allowed me to have a successful career in biotechnology as a protein biochemist developing recombinant protein biopharmaceutical drugs, and, in my opinion, are the qualities needed to be treasurer of the New England Flying Disc Association. Am I doing the job in the most efficient way? Maybe, maybe not, but I get the job done. That's right. So people who volunteer often burn out after a few weeks, months, or years. I've been NIFA treasurer for over 35 years. That's a pretty good chunk of a human lifetime. And some of you might be thinking, was this guy NIFA treasurer at age 10? So why would I volunteer to be NEFA treasurer for such a long time? First of all, I like money. Who doesn't, right? I like working with numbers. But it's important to me to track NEFA's income and expenses because it's important to the organization. It's important to me to track NEFA's finances because it's important to the IRS. Thanks to Gary Sear for establishing NEFA's 501c3 status in 2010. But most of all, it's important to me to track NEFA's money because it's important to you, the NEFA membership. When you buy something like food, clothing, a house or a car, a yacht or a private jet, you want to know what you're paying for. What value are you getting for your money? So when you become a NEFA member, you want to know what value are you getting for your money? What is your money being used for? Well, I can tell you. Besides the mundane expenses of running an organization, like envelopes, stamps, photocopying, post office box, the NEFA website, the NEFA history website, the purchase of NEFA minis, the gold member discs, we used to supply our salaries. Yeah. So we used to have these personalized ID tags, thanks to first Steve Hartwell, and then the new and improved cards like this, thanks to Stephen Bitter. Then, yep, we used to, NEFA paid for the gold member tags, thanks to Jim Bobka. Sorry, we won't do those anymore. And then in the 80s and 90s, as was mentioned, NEFA used a trailer and pole hole so that we could set up a temporary course, have a tournament, and then move on to another location. And that cost money. A big expense for 18 years was the NEFA News. That's the newsletter that was sent to all members. You can see the newsletters at our NEFA booth at this expo, or you can read them for free online at the NEFA history website. And there's a lot of them. The newsletter was a way to connect Frisbee players all over the New England area and communicate when and where tournaments were being held. In my opinion, that's why NEFA was formed, to connect players throughout the New England area. And over the years, NEFA had a tournament loan program to help tournament directors with startup costs to run a tournament. We sponsored the Discs for Kids program, where Jason Southwick would pack up lost, unclaimed discs and send them to Rick Timmons in Vermont, and then he would get them into the hands of kids. NEFA bought 9 scoreports when those were being used and spread them throughout New England to help TDs run their events more efficiently. NEFA bought portable baskets for those who introduce disc golf to schools and summer camps. NEFA has given money to the EDGE program. NEFA has sponsored players to go to the PDGA Worlds and the USDGC. Just last August, we paid the registration fee for 2 juniors to compete at Smuggler's Notch in the Northeast Junior Disc Golf Championship. And one of the guys, Braden Roberts, won the MJ12 division. And NEFA pays to be at conferences like this expo and others. NEFA pays out over $15,000 in the NEFA Disc Golf Point Series and the New England Disc Golf Championships, which is our NEFA Finals. Well, currently, and most importantly, NEFA's biggest expense is the disc golf course grant program. NEFA has given out grants since the early 1990s. We've helped install over 50 courses and have spent over $60,000. The amount of the grants have increased thanks to the increase in membership. So we want to increase the number of grants and the grant amount, and thanks to our grant coordinator, Spencer Lenz, we hope to continue to do that. So I hope you see that the value of your NEFA membership money, it goes a long way. And in closing, keep sending your money to NEFA and I'll keep tracking it. Just ignore my occasional trips to Bermuda. To be clear, I don't use NEFA money to go to Bermuda. It's Aruba. Enjoy the rest of the celebration. Join NEFA. Good night.
to our next presenter. Though it's spelled D-A-K-A-I, say it with me as it was one of the most mispronounced names in all of NEFA. Dakey. Dakey. Steve had a vision in the early 2010s of 54 players competing on 54 holes on 3 courses in one day from sunrise to sunset in the middle of March when the weather could still be suspect at best in this region. It was an endurance test that drew the very best players from New Jersey to Maine. And no matter how you finished, it was enough to say you played and survived. Please welcome Steve Dakey to induct Jason Southwick.
Wow, the room filled in. There's nobody here when I started. All right, I'm just going to read this. It's a lot. I got Southwick, okay? If he tries to beat me up, please help. All right? I don't want to get hit in the head tonight. All right, ladies and gentlemen, today we are here to celebrate an incredible group of men and women who pioneered our sport in New England. Each of them has been a driving force in their own way, bringing unique skills and talents that have shaped our community. Please give them all a round of applause. As much as I cherish each and every one of them, I'm here to talk about the unstoppable force that is Jason Southwick. Jason epitomizes the phrase, make shit happen. I stand in front of you, a little underqualified to give this address. The 2 guys who should be up here are Billy Mack and Lick. They can't be with us. So I'm going to humbly stand in. The 3 of them are thick as thieves, and the speech would have lasted for hours and roasted Jason horribly. Instead, boring old me is going to stick to the facts. Jason grew up in Leicester, and in 1978 discovered disc sports at Rollins College in Winter Park, Florida. He met a guy named Frisbee Jeff Dean, an incredible freestyler with long blonde hair, and Jason was immediately drawn to the game. By 1979, he discovered Ultimate, played for an Orlando team called UFO. In 1980, he transferred back to UNH and played for the UNH collegiate team, as well as the original Hostages team. He was a member of the winning team at the Ultimate Affair in Amherst, Mass., with only 8 players on the team. By 81, he returned to Rollins College and formed their Ultimate team, called the Rollins Dogs. The college actually let him use a giant station wagon to get his team back and forth to their matches. By 1982, he graduated from Rollins College, and Jason was now known as Frisbee Jason. He sported his own long blonde hair. Did we get a picture of that? No? Yes. Oh, it's up there somewhere. Jay's got some locks back then, let me tell you. In addition to Ultimate, Jason participated in all the overall competitions, which had many Frisbee disciplines we talked about, like MTA and double disc, and he excelled in them all. At this point, disc golf courses were temporary, set up just for the tournament rounds. Very few of the courses had standard targets like disc catchers. Some were just homemade tire baskets, some were wheelbarrows. If you want to check them out, look at the pictures on the NEFA site from Frozen Fruits. You'll have a good laugh. The biggest thing is that they played with lids. You saw them bring them out here tonight, those giant whammos. Well, in the history of disc golf, the encounter between Jason and the modern Frisbee was at the 1983 European Overalls in Essex, England. And that stands as a pivotal moment for all of us. Jason's introduction to the disc, the Eagle, which was the first beveled disc, was made by Ron Kaufman, a man whose name, rather ironically, translates to salesman. While the powers that be wouldn't allow the arrow to be used for distance, it was approved for disc golf. They renamed the Eagle the Arrow, and we were off. When Jay returned from England, he shared his newfound disc with his Frisbee friends, Sonny, Billy Mack, and Lick. And Bill told me the story when Jason arrived with these discs. He showed up at a tournament. They'd been playing with lids forever, and Jay had this new disc. And right away, he said, this is going to change the sport forever. He didn't invent it, but he certainly shared it with everybody. And Lick had been somewhat of a hero to Jason. When Jay met Lick, he was taking a sabbatical from disc golf and focusing on insurance sales. He always thought that Frisbee was just a phase, but Jason convinced him that insurance was just a phase. And when I was asked to deliver the speech, I went to Jason to get some background. We met at a work day at West Thompson way back when, but before that, he was a mystery. And we talked for a little bit, and that's where I got the Rollins College tidbits and a few other things. But what he did do is he pointed me to the old NEFA discussion page. Yeah. Now, it took a little bit to find, and thanks to Jeff Wykowski and David Hoey and a few others, I have all the evidence a boy could ever want. Now, once I got to looking, it was like visiting a bunch of old friends. And there were stories about Franchi maybe getting a permit, Maple Hill maybe someday would do something. What else we have going on? Dave Stidham was still running the Dam series. And there are some stories and some passionate discussions that populated those pages. You know, the shock of seeing Jason arrive in New Hampshire on a 10-speed bike from Leicester, play New Hampshire States, and then he wins the tournament. The running battle with Bob Enman and the open field tackle that ensued to end that one. Brian Honigger's salary. That took up a year or two. But sitting right behind those flame wars was an incredibly rich history of NIFA, and Jason Southwick presiding over all of it. In 1988, a letter went out to local Frisbee enthusiasts. Dear NIFA, New England Frisbee player, you were invited to become an active participant in the New England Frisbee Association. Those words, written on a page and sent through snail mail, started it all. We had an organization. NIFA was born, and Disc Sports had a home in New England, and number 5 was right there. When Jason got back to Leicester from college and conquering Europe, he did what many people do. He got a job that didn't quite excite him. After work, he'd stop by to see his cousin, Sonny Cade, and they'd throw some Frisbees around at Sonny's course at his house. It was during one of these meetings that Sonny put the idea in his head. Why don't you build a course in Leicester? And with that encouragement, Jason set to work in 1988, embarking on the ambitious project of building pyramids. He had no formal plan, just a saw, a dream, and an unwavering determination. He also had Billy Mack, who had set up a few courses in the past and was right there beside him. Pyramids was not just his first course. It was a labor of love that has evolved over the years into a beloved destination for players around. Jason's dedication didn't stop there either. He constantly sought ways to improve the course and make the game more enjoyable for everyone. And watching the evolution of pyramids over the last 20+ years has been nothing short of amazing. Who removes the Tom Sawyer hole? Who takes away our favorite hole? We made the course better. That's why he did it. Always. His creativity and drive transformed pyramids into a community hub where friendships blossomed and lifelong memories were made. Jason took the initiative to host tournaments, encourage local players, and promote the joy of the sport to newcomers, laying the groundwork for future generations. Then he added a store, and they weigh every disc. As Jason's love for course building grew, and with pyramids as proof of concept, he carried the NIFA mantle of course builder. To Jason's legacy, in addition to pyramids, which he built in 1988, UDisc credits him as a designer on the following courses. In 2001, Barry Falls Dam. And stories of Jason and Billy Mack hacking their way through the brambles and setting up pole holes, they literally bled all over that course. Some of those holes are still there today. Not a lot of them, but we can pick them out. Then from Barry, in 2002, he moved on to West Thompson Lake, and that's where I met Jason. The course was already in. They were moving the tire baskets into becoming pole holes, and I showed up because I met Brent Sanderson. I built a swimming pool, and he said, come on down to a work day. Get a little disc golf karma. You'll enjoy it. And I met Jason. We worked all day long. We were tired. We were sore. We were exhausted, and he was still going. And then the most maddening thing of all that happened. We got all done, and me and my buddies thought we were just going to hang out with him for the day. He looks over and says, hey, I heard you guys live on the other side of that lake right there. And we said, yeah, we do. He said, great, this course needs a good caretaker. Let me introduce you to the Rangers. I'm out of here. Thanks. It actually turned out to be one of the best days of my life. Thank you, Jason. I had no idea what I was getting in for when I met him, that's for sure. From there, we moved on to Newton Hill in 2009. And before the days of live streaming, we had Jason blogging. We got a blow-by-blow of the trials and tribulations of building a course in the heart of Worcester. And this is from the blog. The general idea behind the Newton Hill Adopt a Hole adoption is to give players and groups of players, such groups can include normal people who don't play, a chance to make their own hole perfect. What limitations do you have? Don't move the position of the tee or the hole without asking me first. You invited us all down. Come on, be a designer. Do your thing.
No one came.
With one other stipulation, don't break little branches or I will come at you like if you break little branches at pyramids. And we've all seen that.
Oh, no.
In 2012, he moved on to Webster Fish and Game, where he created a gem, and the folks there polished it into a diamond. It was a gorgeous little course. In 2016, he moved to 501 in Warren, Mass. You want to know how to build a better tee box? It's online. Jason documented it. It stars our friend Jamie Parent. He didn't keep it to himself. He shared all of it with all of us so we could get better too. That's the amazing part about Jay. He could have made the entire thing proprietary. He could have said it's my way or the highway, but he didn't. He encouraged others to be part of Newton Hill, just like he did at West T and Webster, leaving behind not only a great new disc golf course, but a team of volunteers who were invested. And with some sweat equity, it's their project. He makes it a community effort and gets everyone involved. He and the crew via Mass were likely to pop up at any work day, on any course, on any Saturday. It was like a moth to flame. Thoughts become things, right? Anybody who spent any time around Jay has heard that line. Thoughts become things. And a lot of his thoughts became our things in the form of tournaments. First, we got to talk about the Pyramids tournaments. Jason set the standard for how to run a tournament. It started on time. Lunch was brief. They fed us. Yes, TDs, they fed us. Did you hear that? They fed us. Afterwards, everything was in cash. It was done quickly, and we had lots of laughter. And then we partied until Jason went to bed. It was kind of fun. We also learned, as mentioned before, do not pet Pierre. Someone always did. Attorney 54, in my introduction you heard about that. That was actually not my idea. I wish it was. It was an idea at Jason's table one night. Rick Belhumor came up with it. Why don't we run an Ironman disc golf tournament? I forgot about it the next day until I got a call from him and said, hey, when are we going to run this tournament? And he lasted a couple of years, and then he disappeared on me again. It's still being run today by somebody else. I went 10 more, and I had enough. But that's how he did things. He breathed life into these beautiful tournaments and left them there for us to enjoy. About the NIFA auctions and Newcomers Ball. That was the most fun you could possibly have. We played for funny money with a brand new player. This person had to be off the streets brand new. And at the end of it, he paid us in Monopoly money, in which we bought things on the auction to raise money for NIFA. Got to get back to that one. Someone needs to volunteer to run that one again. And then lastly, MSDGC in 2005. Steve, Rick, and Jay had an idea to run a New England major, and that has now evolved into the MVP Open. Jason's last win came in 2005 at Borderland. While he doesn't participate in many tournaments anymore, he gave Pyramids League one last highlight reel at the end of last season. Oh, yeah.
Look at the love, folks. Look at the love.
At one point, he was NIFA president. He edited and produced the NIFA newsletter. He was a championship-level disc golfer, a course builder. He weighs every disc. Somehow, he's transcended all of that to a higher role. The official leader of our motley crew, our inspiration. I don't have a word for it. Sage, guru. Those all work, but still seem short of the respect we have for him. But he is the reason we all play. And he's the reason we're not all holding a pickleball racket right now, too. So tonight, as we honor Jay by inducting him into the New England Disc Golf Association Hall of Fame, let's remember all that he's achieved and the lasting impact he's had on our sport. Thank you, Jason, for being an unstoppable force and showing what it means to make stuff happen.
No back door for you.
Bob, Craig, Steve. I'm honored to be here, to be inducted into the NIFA Hall of Fame. Steve just talked about me. I'd like to talk about last year's inductees. Toddy, David Stidham, Vincent Steele, Sonny Cade, Bill McWilliams, and Joe Lick Me Proud. Toddy Brodeur has a sign at Pyramids on hole 7, world-class Frisbee shows. We were rivals for years in an era of Frisbee overalls, which included freestyle, something Toddy and I loved, beating each other at. When we started competing in the 1990s, we were pretty even. Years passed and we wound up freestyle, and I had to ask, which spin do you take? It's a brain thing. You either take clock, or you take counterclockwise spin. Toddy said either, which meant that I'd never beat him again in freestyle. He later became a world freestyle champion and someone who made his living giving Frisbee shows to kids. And Toddy said, I should do something about that. And Toddy said, he showed me the first lesson, tossing a Frisbee like this in the air. He said, you need spin. He'd explain, I wish I had another couple decades with Toddy. David Stidham was the project manager at Buffinville Dam, and the guy who made Buffinville Disc Golf Course happen. An interim at Buffinville named Brian Longcore found Pyramids and played around with me and Billy Mack. Brian said he had designed an object course at a federal dam site in Oxford. Billy and I went the next day and met with David. Buffinville is nothing like any of the few courses we knew. It introduced us to big open distances. One day, maybe about 30 years ago, Scott Stokely came to Buffinville for a clinic. And almost everyone went. People started throwing far, eventually even farther than Davis Johnson. 44! And how about Vinny? Vincent Steele lived on my couch for 4 years in the 2000s, pretty much through all 4 MSDGCs from 2004 to 2007. He had his own room, but he lived on the couch. Everybody loved Vinny. And he turned our house into something like a frat. At least a dozen people could walk in without knocking. It was a special time. Vinny loved work days as much as me, and we went to dozens of them together at various courses. He also ran Buffinville Sunday League. He was one of the many people who contributed mightily to our little scene, and it's good that he's recognized for that. When I returned to Massachusetts after 6 years in Austria in 1987, my parents had discovered that I had a third cousin who was an avid Frisbee player. Theo Sonny Cade, co-founder of NIFA. My parents invited Sonny and his wife Jude over for a little family picnic. He lived 17 miles away in Princeton and had a disc golf course on his property. When I was 28 years old, I'd pass Sonny's on my way to work, so I'd wind up stopping on the way home and play and work on his course. We even had early NIFA meetings at Sonny's house with the Hartwells, Rick Williams, Toddy, Davis Johnson, and others. So the day I met Sonny Cade for the first time at a family picnic on Marshall Street in Leicester, and we went for a walk in the woods. I know you've already just heard the story, it's a little different. He said, with wide eyes, "We should build a course here." This suggestion would shape my life. Around the same time, my dad pointed out a notice in the Worcester Telegram about a Frisbee golf tournament in Sturbridge at a fair. The people who set it up were part of the Inventing Disc Golf in a Vacuum phenomenon. The targets were 1x1 sticks on little wooden platforms and about 20 inches high. I had a bag of mostly Innova discs, including a Shark, an AVR, and the farthest flying disc in the world, a DX Stingray. That baby would sail. I met a group of guys there and we wound up playing together. They all had either white 165 or blue 141 Ramos. One of these guys was Billy Mack, who wanted to see my discs. "Those aren't legal," he said jokingly. I said, "See that? PDGA. That stands for Professional Disc Golf Association." Woo. Billy laughed. He was mesmerized. Turns out Billy and his buddies had been playing Frisbee golf for years, having also invented their own version of the game. The targets were any objects they chose. They had designed courses in state parks and one in a cemetery, which Billy admitted maybe wasn't the greatest idea. One of Billy Mack's friends was a guy named Brian McRae, who later moved to Florida and showed his brother the game. You may have heard of Johnny McRae.
Yeah.
That's how small our world is. I have a Frisbee golf course in Leicester, I told Bill and his friends that day in Sturbridge. It was like saying, I know where the end of the rainbow is. Billy and I started playing nearly every day when we weren't inventing new courses in friends' backyards or working at pyramids. Billy introduced me to another of his Frisbee friends, Brent Sanderson, and the three of us would go on to create real courses with real baskets, first at Barry Falls and the very next year, West Thompson. For years, the three of us would play together at pyramids most afternoons and attend many NIFA tournaments together. Then there was Lick. Lick had actually run Frisbee tournaments in Connecticut before NIFA was born, then took some time off establishing his insurance business. I decided I had to become an adult, he admitted, adding, I don't know what I was thinking. So Lick wasn't at those early NIFA meetings, but well before I met him, we heard about this guy named Joe Proud, whose official nickname was Lick Me, who everyone called Lick. One story went like this. During a beer drinking competition at an after-tournament NIFA party, Lick made his dog lie on her back, poured beer on her belly, and drank it as it rolled off the dog's crotch. I knew I had to meet this man, who was obviously a genius. And I knew we'd become friends, and we did. We ran tournaments together, like all 4 MSDGCs from 2004 to 2007, and probably a dozen pyramids, doubles, and NIFA charity auctions, which were legendary. Not always for all the right reasons. Lick was one of my favorite kinds of people, namely a comedian, and deep down an absurdist, one who sought out the ridiculous and embraced it. His Lickathons were marathon disc golf tournaments at multiple courses, culminating in a final round party on a course set up around his cul-de-sac neighborhood, with the active participation of his neighbors. We talked on the phone almost every week for a couple decades. Right up to his death, we talk about everything honestly. Whenever anything really interesting happens, I couldn't wait to tell Lick. I love Lick. A lot of people did. I wish I could call him tomorrow, tell him. Yesterday I had to give a big speech at the Northeast Disc Golf Expo. It was a NIFA thing and a big deal, and a bunch of people were there, and I told them how being your friend made life so much more fun. And don't be mad, I may have mentioned the beer drinking competition one other time.
I'm going to go quick, one moment off script. I am proud to have said, when I can get a hold of myself, I'm proud to have played the 2005 and 2006 MSDGC events. Those were the 2 most fun weekends I've had playing disc golf, almost ever. So thank you, Jason, and thank you, Lick. All right. Forgive me for a moment, but I'm going to drop a curse or two. Gage Benson, you wonderful masshole, you. Fuck your face. Wow. We started off as rivals in Team Challenge and ended up commiserating on course design. And we all benefit from your hard work to keep Maple Hill atop the rankings of best courses in the world. I'm always grateful for every interaction that we've had, because it's been positive and laugh-inducing. To induct Steve Dodge, please welcome Gage Benson.
Sorry, guys. It's an honor to be up here. I just want to say it out loud, and congratulations to all the presenters and inductees into the Hall of Fame this year. I'm honored to be up here right now. Thank you very much. Let me pull it up. When Steve first asked me to introduce him into the New England Disc Golf Hall of Fame, I was immediately hit with the wave of emotions. Out of everyone in the world, Steve Dodge chose me to induct him. That alone stopped me in my tracks and made me think about the journey we've been on together at Maple Hill. As I was sitting there thinking about that journey, my girlfriend Kelsey looked at me and asked, "Are you crying?" I said no. Then I walked into the bathroom and looked myself in the mirror and realized, like, yes, I was crying. And which also made me realize I've clearly been spending way too much time around Steve Dodge. Instead of me crying, if I cry one more time, I'll be mad. The first time I ever heard the name Steve Dodge was back in 2012. And honestly, even then, Steve was already a Hall of Famer in my eyes. He was hosting the finale of the national tour of the Vibram Open at Maple Hill. At the time, this was one of the biggest tournaments our sport had, right up there with Worlds, the European Open, USDGC. The best players in the world came out to battle for a $50,000 prize pool, which at the time was like a very big deal. I know Steve had help, but everyone knew he was the mastermind behind it. Fast forward to the winter of 2015-2016, Steve was preparing to launch something that would change disc golf forever, the Disc Golf Pro Tour. Somehow I was given the honor of writing the opening scene and narrating the commercial that launched the very first Disc Golf Pro Tour live stream in June of 2016. Steve was there, fully supportive, loving every word I wrote. Then he put me into a co-commentator role alongside Terry Miller, live for the entire world to see and hear. Little did I know at that time, on that day, without even realizing it, Steve Dodge changed my life forever. Over the next few years, I got to see Steve Dodge work in full action. He struck a deal with MVP, created one of the most talked about events on the tour every single year, even to this day. And I credit so much of that success to one simple thing. Steve let people be themselves. From allowing the 8 holes to roar across the ponds, to trusting the staff to keep the train moving even when he's not around. Steve's passion, love, and support for the people in the game is why everyone loves going to his events and supporting his ideas. Because Steve has always been the first one to love and support everyone else. And that's the thing about Steve Dodge. His greatest contribution to disc golf isn't something you can put on a scorecard. It's the trust he gives people. The trust to be creative, the trust to be loud, the trust to care deeply and do things differently. Steve doesn't micromanage greatness, he creates space for it. And because of that, people don't just work for Steve Dodge, they believe in him. When I think about Steve Dodge today, I don't just think about Maple Hill or the Pro Tour or the events that changed the trajectory of our sport. I think about the people. The players who felt seen, the staff who felt trusted, the fans who felt like they were part of something bigger. Steve has always believed in disc golf's potential, but more importantly, he always believed in disc golf people. And that belief has changed careers, built communities, and helped shape the modern era of our sport. So tonight, it feels more than fitting that we honor someone who spent his life honoring others. So Steve, thank you for the risk you took, and the standards you set, and the countless lives you impacted along the way, including mine. So without further ado, it's an honor to introduce and officially induct Steve Dodge.
Thank you, Stephen. Well, that didn't take long. Thank you, Gage. It's interesting being known as the guy that cries the most. That's something, I guess. So, in my opinion, we are officially inducted into this Hall of Fame as soon as we accept that disc. That for me. So, not that doesn't mean anything. But as soon as I accept that disc, I will be the youngest guy in the Hall of Fame. I'm just saying, by quite a bit. So, for now, I got it. All right. For 5 minutes. I don't know if Julie's younger than me or not. So that was a joke, I do know. So I've got to say, a lot of times in life, you hear people talk about standing on the shoulders of giants. And wow,
all four of you guys, like, I'm so blessed. Like, the fact that I'm up here is not 100% because of you guys, but there's no chance I'd be here without you guys. You mean a lot to me. Davis says the Frisbee family, and I'm sitting there starting to break down. So, thank you. He also said moderation in all things. And my doctor agrees, but he says including moderation. So sometimes, in 2003, I took a trip across the country, and my goal was to go to the best courses in the world, in America, and see what we needed to do to make Maple Hill the greatest course in America. And I didn't realize until tonight that Steve Hartwell was the reason I could take that trip, because we had the 2003 PDGA directory, which was 90% of which was created by Steve. Rick, 36 years as treasurer. There's no chance NEFA would have been here, and I believe that the first time that I think Jason invited me to come to this NEFA board of directors, whatever that was, and Rick was like, well, you should be on the board. Maybe you could be the graphic designer. And I didn't realize the journey that you were putting me on. And Stephen, you forgot to mention, of course, that Jason had a lot of input on, which is Maple Hill. Jason was the first person that said, hell yeah, we can do this. And he came with Tom, and we all designed that course. And thank you, Jason. Jason did, well, a lot of other things, but one other significant thing. I wanted to run a store, I wanted to run a course, and I wanted to run a tournament. I wanted to have them all work together, and I wanted to demonstrate to other people, hey, if you use these three things, they can all support each other, and we can all build big events. And then maybe if we build enough of these, we can link them all up. And that was my dream in '03 when I moved up to Leicester. And Jason said, well, I have an A tier, and maybe that could become the tournament. And we converted Dam Pyramids into the Marshall Street Disc Golf Championship. Woo, thank you, Jason.
Thank you for saying we should move it to summer.
March was a little early. I wasn't from here, and I knew March was not ideal. Thank you all very much, and thank you, NEFA. Yeah, my heart is always on my sleeve. But having said that, I'm not done at all. We've got a lot more to do, and I'm really, really excited to keep pushing. If you came by my booth, which my brother and I manned most of the day, he manned all the day, I manned it some of the day, part of the day. I don't know. My apologies if you couldn't find me. But one of the things that I think is most important in disc golf right now is maintaining the Frisbee family, making sure that we have spirit in the game. And I had 100 Spirit Awards made up, these little tags, and I gave 99 of them out. I had to keep one. I'm sorry, just to show you all. I really did it. My goal is to give out Spirit Awards to every tournament director that runs an event, and I think it's critical that we keep the spirit of the game in the game. And there are so many new people who don't know anything about the spirit of the game because they've just found disc golf. They don't know our hippie traditions, and they don't know Ultimate, but they know disc golf now. And it's important that tournament directors recognize somebody as a Spirit Award winner. You can give them a coffee cup, you can give them a rock, it does not matter. I've done that. Oh my gosh, I don't have, so you just write Spirit Award winner on the bottom, and it means something to them, and everybody. So if you run an event, or if you know someone that runs an event, encourage them to give out a Spirit Award. I'll read the back of this Spirit Award so that everybody understands what I'm talking about, although I feel like this group does know. It says, presented for embodying the culture of the disc during competition, competing with honor, grace, and acceptance. And then there's my favorite Abraham Lincoln quote is on the back. I do not like that man. I must get to know him better. Amen. And then the other thing is something that actually, Bob, you influenced my talk right now, and I'll get to that. It'll be probably about 20 minutes later. So 30 years ago, I used to struggle with alcohol. I would black out most times that I drank, which was most nights of the week. I drove my car into a lot of posts of a farm fence, and some cows escaped, but nobody died, including me. A really nice guy found me wandering around in a field and took me to his house, a stranger. I, to this day, don't know who that is, but he changed the course of my life by being really nice in that moment. 15 years ago, I went through a really tough divorce, which impacted me a lot. If you've gone through a divorce, you understand it didn't happen on that day. It's happened years ahead. It's not easy. And then just six years ago, I almost literally destroyed the disc golf pro tour. And I was, at the time, I would argue the most hated man in disc golf. And now I'm up here. And the reason that happens is because we all accept each other, and we love each other, and we're all friends. And that matters a lot, or all of our, like a connection with somebody. And Bob made a post and talked about how much that matters, and it meant a lot to me, and I do want to go to lunch. We have to find time. I'm asking Bob out on dates, and you won't go. Because Bob's the kind of person I want to connect with. I want to have a friendship with, and I don't. And it saddens me. Right? So we all know that life is tough. We all know people are going through it all of the time. Open your heart up and be ready to accept wherever anybody is at any time. And from the bottom of my heart, I thank you very much for this.
Our last presenter is Kim Kissel, who has become one of the rising tournament directors for New DG, or Northeast Women's Disc Golf. Straight from the inductee herself, Kim is the Pisces to Julie's Gemini. Always quick to take a random selfie, and is the bedrock that helps keep her life in perspective. To induct Julie Fredella, please welcome Kim Kissel.
Not as tall as Nifa Bales. NIFA and New England Disc Golf Hall of Fame Committee, Disc Golf East, members of the disc golf community, thank you for trusting me with the enormous honor of talking about Julie Fredella. While I am the mouthpiece, what I'm about to read is compiled by multiple people as well as the community as a whole. I will do my best to do this woman justice. When you think of disc golf in the Northeast, or when you think of women's disc golf in the Northeast, you think of Julie Fredella. Julie, affectionately called Juge in the disc golf world, became aware of the sport growing up in Leicester and walking the grounds of Maple Hill with friends in high school. She picked up a disc in 2011, and the rest is history. She started her competitive disc golf journey in 2012 and dipped her toe in the FPO field by 2014. She has played 100 PDGA events to date and has won a fourth of them. Memorable wins include the Vibe Ram in 2016 and the 2018 Women's Global event at Rapscallion, where she ranked 16th globally. In 2025, Juge embraced her elder zillennial status and joined the competitive FP40 division, achieving podium finishes in 6 of 8 events. Outside of PDGA events, Juge is a regular at local leagues out of Central Mass, which include Crooked Birch, Pyramid, Maple, 501, and Mile Marker 63, just for a few. She is also a staple on the New England Team Challenge scene. She has been described as the spiritual backbone for Team Crate for over a decade, where she is a 2-time New England Team Challenge champion. And she is currently playing for Tuba. She also serves as a commissioner for the league, which is a hugely needed and rather thankless role. While Juge's play on the course is impressive, her role behind the scenes shines even brighter. I will often describe Juge as a pillar of the community, during which she usually rolls her eyes and laughs it off. As I said in the beginning, when you think of women's disc golf in the Northeast, Juge is who comes to mind. She co-founded Northeast Women's Disc Golf in January 2014 with Mindy Lee Fontaine, longing to create a space in the sport she desperately sought for herself. It started as a Facebook page, then spread to a traveling women's league and a few women's-only tournaments. Around the same time, she joined the PDGA Women's Committee and made it possible for the game to come along as much as it has for women. NUDG saw immense growth in 2021 with the disc golf pandemic boom. A women's-only tournament series was started, more women's leagues emerged, and NUDG ran 2 women's global events, both co-TD'd by Juge. These events have been the largest WGEs ever, on record, in the world, ever. And Juge plays a huge role in making that all possible. In addition to the behind-the-scenes work in the sport, Juge is probably best known for the energy, warmth, kindness, and hugs she brings to the course and to life.
Yeah, hugs.
Yeah, hugs. She is always willing to coach and guide new players, which is particularly evident at Maple's women's leagues on Wednesdays. Juge is usually the one starting the party card of 10+ people because she literally just wants to play with everyone who shows up. She is also not afraid to throw down, and if you have seen the transformation that happens during Juji Yogi, you know exactly what I mean.
Sing a little bit.
Everyone has a Juge story, and for most people, their first meeting usually involves an, "I couldn't believe she talked to me, she's so cool." And that's the thing about Juge that makes her so special. She treats everyone the same, no matter age, time in the sport, or skill level. She is the reason women sign up for their first tournament. She is able to beautifully straddle encouragement and competition with all the positives of both. Juge, I know what's running through your head right now. None of this is true and no one believes anything Kim is saying. Every single person sitting in this room knows the impact you have had on their lives in this sport as a whole. You are the most deserving of this honor. Congratulations, Queen. Hold your head up, keep your crown upright, and come accept this amazing accomplishment.
Crying yet?
Obviously.
You got this. You got it.
First, I would like to thank the people who nominated me for this, the committee, NIFA, and the fellow inductees. I am so deeply honored to be included in this class, and that the passion that I have for our sport is felt throughout our community.
I'm so grateful to be among family, friends, and legends. Thank you to my family for being here after forgetting to tell you that I was throwing the ceremonial first throw at MVP Open this year. And they all live in Leicester, so definitely could have gone. Sorry. I grew up in a family of sport, and that's where I fell in love with being outside. My father, James, he would bring me out into the woods in Rochdale, and he would take me on hikes no matter the season. And that prepared me really well for Team Challenge, actually. I'm a graduate of Leicester High, and I played field hockey, basketball, and track, where my two sisters who are here were actually my coaches. And I learned so many lessons from them. And I continued on to Springfield College, where I ran track and field. And Davis, I still don't know how I didn't take disc golf at freshman camp. I don't know what I took.
What stopped you?
I don't know. Sports were fun, but they also helped my confidence and mental health and lent me community. Other girls going through the same challenges as I was and being part of a team was a really important building block of who I am as a person. And post-college, I felt lost without those connections. I tried everything from tennis to adult basketball leagues, some field hockey leagues, and something was just missing. And just to backtrack, Kim touched on this a little bit. At the beginning, end of high school, beginning of college, I was walking around Pyramids and Maple Hill in town with a group of my friends, and I never saw another girl throw at that time. And they never asked me to throw or made me throw, and I really appreciate them for not doing that until I was really ready. Watching other men play when you've never seen a woman throw, it can be really intimidating. And I just loved being out in nature. My background with in the woods with my dad really lent to that, so it was already something I enjoyed. My first memory of disc golf was actually walking up hole 16 at Pyramids toward the shed. It probably wasn't 16 at the time, but I remember thinking it looked like Fern Gully. It was just so beautiful, and I loved being there. Going into the basement of Marshall Street, I remember seeing a bumper sticker, where all the stickers were at checkout, and there was a flower bumper sticker about growing the sport, and that never left my mind. Even though I wasn't playing yet, that image just stayed in my brain. In 2011, I threw my first Frisbee, and the New England Frisbee family was so special and welcoming to just a girl from Leicester. And going to Pyramids League on Monday nights, to the Buff Turkey Bowl, I fell in love. I was hooked, as they say. I found that spark in me again that was missing after playing team sports. In 2012, I quickly got my NIFA membership, my PDGA membership, played in the first Women's Global event. I was searching the internet for YouTube videos of women playing, and thank you, Valerie Jenkins, for creating discgolfforwomen.com. I saw footage from an event in Michigan run by Erin Oakley called Disc Girls Gone Wild. And I was a few years into teaching, living at home, making adult money, so I brought myself there, alone. And being at a women's tournament changed my life. Being around the women in the Midwest, seeing what they had going on was incredible. It was so incredible that I grabbed Mindy Lee LaFontaine and took her with me the next year. And that's when New DG was born in that year. I hear so many origin stories, my own included, from women who get into disc golf because of their partner. And I thought, how cool would it be if there were more experiences where women said, I learned through this really cool club made just for me. And just today at the expo, we met a girl she's from around Boston, and she was playing a lot with her significant other, and we were talking about where she can play, and I asked her, have you ever played with another girl? And she said, no. And right away, Kim and I said, game changer. Literally and figuratively. When you play alongside other women and you see skills that are attainable and you feel the encouragement coming from each other, it changes the game. Every year, Northeast Women's Disc Golf gets better. We gain more experience. New people want to get involved, and it's truly been one of the most beautiful things to witness. I want to quickly thank all of the board volunteers and ambassadors for their countless hours of planning and dedication, because without you, we would not be thriving. Disc golf is the only hyperfixation of mine that ever really stuck. It has all the right ingredients: nature, activity, camaraderie. One of my dreams recently came true, and that's working in a store and giving lessons. So thanks for inviting me to Second Flight, Ryan and Jamie. I also quickly want to thank everyone who has been so patient with I lost my, oh my God, where's I can't find my mitten bag. I left it just 2 pulls away. If you've played with me, you know, thank you to everybody who's so patient. From my 30th birthday at Maple, which Steve Dodge attended, and Steve, thanks for always being such a huge champion of women's disc golf in our area. To the 11-some card before tea times at Maple, to quads at Rapscallion, to tag matches and playing for the belt at SDH, to many snowy, cold, or rainy rounds during Team Challenge with Carly, to road trips to U.S. Women's and Bowling Green, loaded with grenades. If you know, you know. And to winning an essay contest to get me to AM Worlds. Disc golf always brings me the most joy. And if you're doing something that doesn't bring you joy, why are you doing it? I'm so grateful for all disc golf has brought my life. For example, my fiance, Douglas. To so many lifelong friends, it helped me see myself in a positive light. And I knew very early that creating a space in disc golf for other women to feel that too had to become my mission. So whether you're throwing or walking, you are always welcome here. Thank you so much.
Bring back Bob to close out tonight's ceremony. I'd like to introduce one last person who put everything we've heard tonight into perspective. He's one of maybe 2 or 3 people that I still allow to call me Smoley. He's one of the best DX Stingray throwers I've ever seen. And I was going to say that I sincerely hope his car keys are in his pocket tonight, but I confirmed with Fallon that they indeed are. Please welcome Manuel Darkus.
So I'm terrified right now, of course. But
like I have an interesting perspective on disc golf in New England. While everything was going on that you've described, 88, 73, I started my career and my relationship with this family we have in the Southeast in 1980. And I didn't get here until 2001. And when I came, brought my family here for a new job, I felt like I was leaving that family behind. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know who was who, what was what, where to play. The internet wasn't what it is now. And literally within 2 weeks, I found myself in the midst of an award ceremony in Jason's living room with 70 people with muddy boots. And I realized it's everywhere. So it was pretty cool. These people, Davis was an inspiration to me before I ever met him. I always like to see who has a lower PDGA number than I do at tournaments. And I read Dave Johnson, and I recalled reading that he was the first man to, we used to read the International Frisbee Association newsletter. Dave Johnson breaks 400 feet. I remember thinking it was funny that he was 44 because I had a pretty close relationship with 33 and 55, if anybody knows who those people are. Davis, who are always a pleasure to play with. Steve, at every tournament, and fellow father, I remember thinking, boy, I hope my kids grow up to play as well as yours do. Pretty remarkable. Back then, I remember you taking notes. I don't know what he was taking notes about. It turns out he's a historian. Rick Williams, I grew up, my favorite event in all of Frisbee was the freestyle. Disc golf was just an event you had to be good at to do well at an overall tournament. First tournament I came here in New England was the snow. As soon as the snow was off the ground, of course, Rick is at the little table just like this, signing people up for NIFA, as we all know. And he stood up and spun the disc and does what he does, and I was just like, oh, can't believe it. So, fellow kindred souls, and Jason, I think when I first got here, I was going to play a tournament after 2 weeks, and there was knee-deep snow, and I was not going to play a tournament without having seen the course. I think Jason looked out his living room window and thought, who in the hell is that? Trump, Trump, Trump. NIFA auctions just is home. And I think we've all felt it. We all know. A couple of years later, Steve Dodge came like a whirling dervish of energy.
Like a phoenix.
Yeah. I had never seen anybody with so much enthusiasm. Does anybody remember playing Maple Hill counterclockwise? It was obviously the place to be. And Jason and Steve and everybody who's done any work there is obviously, I'm using the word obviously, it's not obvious. Pool ball. Who knew about pool ball? So thank you all. And then Juge, in the early 2000s, we met at a team challenge, and obviously everybody, again, obviously, everybody's had their accomplishments described in detail tonight. You are one of the most contagiously fun people that I ever met, and Team Challenge would not be the same without you. Women's disc golf wouldn't be the same without you. So I know I've only been here for half of my Frisbee days, but my Frisbee family, we've all said that phrase, has grown, and we don't always exemplify our true best self. Certainly I've been a pain to deal with. But you can't pick your family. And I'll close with that. I'm grateful
that I'm part of it.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Thank you, Daniel.
Well done, Daniel.
And thank all of you for coming. I mean, I was president of NIFA for a few years after being on the executive board of Buddha for a long time. People know what that is. It's the ultimate disc equivalent of NIFA. And when I left that, I was looking for somewhere to land and somewhere to give back, and I'd been playing for a few years, and I thought, hey, you know, I think I could probably like give some of my talents. I'm not really like, I don't like being up here, I don't like being in the spotlight, but I'm really honored to be with all of you. And please support the hall and go buy a Frisbee out there. Maybe Ditter will help. And unlike last year, you can get it signed by the inductees. Once again, thank you all for coming, and we'll see you next year.